Hey guys, the Wood Craftsman here. I just got done installing these aftermarket Spyder Xtune projector headlamp assemblies, and I'm glad I did what I did, but at the same time I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get a little bit more information on it. They're a well fit. They actually fit the body, the shape of the sheet metal on the body very well, which I was a little concerned, but they got that down pat. All the holes lined up nicely. It was a nice snug fit, not too loose, not too tight, just like an OEM fit. The disappointing part is just the overall design of the projector. As you can see, I do have the nice, sharp cutoff. However, I was not able to fit an LED bulb in the housing without having to discard the rubber boot around the housing. So I just stuck with the OEM bulbs, and the sad part about the situation is I wanted to replace the low beam bulbs with the correct, wanted to go to a longer life bulb, and the information I got was that the H1 was a low beam and the H7 was the high beam. Lo and behold, that's actually backwards. The H7 is the high beam and the H1 is a low beam. I know this because the bulb connections are totally different, and I figured when I went and bought the bulbs, because I don't use high beams that often, I just was going to replace the low beams with a brand name and just be done with it, because I couldn't use the LEDs. I knew I was at a risk that I couldn't, but I didn't realize it was going to be that tight, and it actually was pretty tight. So yeah, that was the kind of the one disappointing thing about that, is that I could not use the LED low beam. So I'm just going to return the LEDs, and maybe when these bulbs burn out, I'll go through it and do it again, I guess. But it's just kind of a pain on these vehicles that they just don't have the ease of working with them anymore to replace the bulbs. So I'm just driving around making sure my aim's right. I'm still going to probably, next time I get the oil changed, I'll get them to align the headlamps right away. And they're pretty close, because I had it marked on the garage wall when I pulled in, where I always pull into, as far as where the original lights were, and they're really close. And I just did the rough test as well. I saw several different videos and information on the internet. One video says 20 feet, the other one says 25 feet, one says 24. So I got between 24 and 25, and I'm about 2 feet off the ground. So they are a little bit low, but they still have some nice distance to them. So I was looking for the brighter white light, but then reading some forums, there's still a lot of debate on LED. I do believe LED is the future. It's just more so of getting the color out of it to make it work well, just overall. But for the most part, I'm happy with what I did here. So it'll be good. It's definitely it's more focused light to where you need it. I do have the fog lamps on right now. I'll turn them off. You can see it does make a little bit of a difference. So adding the Putco fog lamps, as I did in the previous video, definitely does help. But overall, it's not a huge improvement, but it's a pretty significant improvement. So I have to say, overall, I'm happy. So it may be that when one of these bulbs fails, I might come across an LED bulb that actually fit in there. It's just there's not a lot of room between the back side of the projector bowl to where the rubber boot slips over, and I didn't really want to void any warranty on, even though the warranty is only 90 days. It may be that if I can get replacement parts such as those rubber boots, I might actually try the LEDs again and have part of the LED stick out of the rubber boot. So either that, or I might try to stretch the rubber boot on the back side, because the rubber boot is there to keep moisture out of it. So it's a little different characteristic with these fixtures than it is a traditional OEM reflector style. So there's a little bit more. It's actually two housings in one. So But overall, I have to say I'm pretty happy with what I did here. So I'm just a little disappointed that I couldn't use the LEDs, but at the same time, there's a lot of forums out there that debate whether LEDs are right or not. I could go to HID, and I don't know, I think HID may eventually get phased out. HID is a little bit tricky to work with. Your HID, you're actually starting to mess with your electrical system a little bit. And that's the one thing that, you know, being I replaced these headlamps from the factory OEM out underneath warranty, should have some bad luck with a short in one of the headlamps, and that shorts out the headlamp system. You know, that would void the warranty on that. There's a, you know, risk of that. But this is a plug and play installation, literally. I mean, you literally unplug the wiring harness from the truck, from the whole headlight assembly, and then plug the new one into that. So we'll see. First car I'm passing here, no high beams, so it must not have been too bad. I do think they're a little bit low. So, and the other reason that I kind of did away with the idea of the LEDs in the projector bulbs or in the projector headlamps I have here, the manufacturer kind of basically told me flat out they don't recommend LED bulbs flat out. Number one was for fitment, which I can kind of understand why now, and the other one was for performance. And I think in order for them to perform correctly, you'd have to have an LED bulb that probably would have either a bottom-facing diode or a 360-degree diode or diodes. So I just kind of went away from it. So that's kind of where it's at right now. Overall, I'm happy with what I did, so I'm good. Two cars, that's a good sign. Okay, so this is just the low beams. LED fog lamps. High beams. General Motors high beams on this generation vehicle used all four headlights, the two high beams and the two low beams. kind of a yellow light, but the headlamps that I put in, or that I was going to put in, was basically the same thing, but it was slightly brighter. But you know, I'm actually pretty impressed for the most part as far as how well lit this is. So here's low beam with fog lamps. Low beam without fog lamps. Three cars. So my overall thoughts, I'm pretty impressed. It does have a decent cutoff line, which I was a little bit nervous. You know, it's a brand name headlamp assembly, but you can kind of get deceived a little bit, paying too much for something that might be the same or identical to something that's on eBay for, you know, significantly less. So I got the brand name. You know, it could be, that's one thing when it comes to some of the stuff where there's a lot of work to get it to where it's at, such as, you know, replacing these headlamps. There's about an hour of work to you know, basically take everything apart, get everything fitted, snap back together again. A good 45 minutes for sure. So it's one of those things that you just don't want to do more than you have to, and that's, like I said, I'm just disappointed that I can't get the LEDs to fit in there properly. So you know, it'll work for what it is. And like I said, I know now that I need the H7 bulbs for the high beam, and as one burns out, I'll replace them as needed. So I'll replace them as a pair, obviously, but I won't do any more than I absolutely have to. Just a simple reason, unless LED becomes more and more common and the fitment isn't an issue, I'll probably go to an LED the next round. But like I said, there's just a lot of things that are still kind of unanswered yet with the LED. So low beam with Putco fog lights, high beam, no fog lights. Alright guys, that kind of wraps up this tour of the new headlight assemblies. I'll probably do another one after the headlights are aligned which will be the next time I get the oil changed. I'll have them do that at the same time. But other than that, I'm pretty impressed with what I've got here. So as you can see, there's a slight misalignment, so I can deal with that for the time being. And if anything, they're a little bit low. So if there is an improvement, I will do another follow-up video. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Questions and positive comments are welcome. Thank you.